Hey, Stay, how's it going?
Hi, it's going well. Ending a nice day of work. How about you?
Pretty good. Been going to a bunch of Sundance movies this week, so not volunteering today, but still going to see a movie later tonight, or at least trying to see one.
Nice, nice. How was it?
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, this year it's felt more busy than a couple other years in the past, uh, but I I'm having fun with it. Like at least if we like get in early, then we haven't had a problem getting to movies. But some movies you need to be there like an hour beforehand.
Okay, gotcha. Is it usually like a queue going on, or uh, is it? Do you have tickets, or is it first come first serve? I never looked into it.
Yeah, it's ticketed, but then there's another type of pass, which is like um, the pass that like you can go to any movie you want and you don't need tickets. And if enough people with that pass show up for a movie, then you might not get in for a movie if you have tickets and you're late to show up. So
Okay, so yeah,
it's
it's all
best to just
dependent
get
on
there
the
early.
best people.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I can imagine. It's in high demand. This is crowded, like usually.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been to like 4 or 5 sold out shows so far. So those are shows that they're like turning people away at the door because there's too many people.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, so far my top movie has been uh, it's What's Inside. It,
Okay.
it's a it's like a first time director. Kind of the director was there for the Q&A and he was saying like try not to spoil people on the movie, but the premise that he shares is like there's a group of friends from college, and fast forward 8 years later, one of them's getting married. The night before his marriage, he invites everyone back and to his house to hang out for the night. And one friend they haven't seen for 8 years shows up with a suitcase, and it
Oh,
says like,
got it.
"What's in the suitcase? What happens next?" And it was just really good.
Nice. Yeah. Gotta hate that. When that friend shows up with the
It's like, oh,
suitcase. That's a good movie premise.
yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
But
So
yeah, what
you've
have
been
you been up
keeping
to?
busy. Well, not much. Just walking around the neighborhood. My kid is very active these days, so yeah, I'm doing a lot of parenting. Uh, and apart from that, just walking around. It's gotten significantly hotter, so yeah, went on long walks basically throughout the weekend, and yeah, I got some of those nice. Did you ever have bows? The
Mm,
buns, the steamed buns with
I
stuff
love
inside
those.
them. Yeah, they're really good, and there's a really good place that's actually like more places right now that sells like really well made bao buns. So yeah, had some of those,
Very
and yeah,
cool.
waiting for spring to come. I have a bunch of daffodils. Are they daffodils? No, they're not daffodils. They're the other ones with like lots of purple flowers.
Hmm.
Hyacinths. Are they hyacinths? Maybe.
Could be
Yeah,
hyacinths.
yeah, and they've been budding up on my terrace, so yeah, won't be
Wow,
long
that's
now.
yeah, that seems early for flowers, but that's cool to see.
Yeah, I know. I think it's been like a very hot year. I've seen a thread of pictures from the US, I think, with lots of flowers that were blooming in December. And some people were saying that it's because it's El Nino season or year or
Huh.
whatever that is. But I don't know if that was it. But yeah, many people were saying that they haven't seen this in like quite a while.
Hmm. Yeah, it's felt the opposite here, where it's been like on the cold side. Maybe it's just like the southern parts of the country are a little bit warmer than usual.
Yeah, I bet. Is it still snowy?
A little bit. A lot of it's melted, but I think uh, I think it'll come back. It still has a lot of winter to go. I'm hoping because I want to go skiing at least once this year. And yeah, I didn't ski last year because I had torn my ACL and I was going through knee surgery and all that. But I think I'm back up to the point where I could go. And my wife's committed to like taking a very like intro lesson to skiing. So I think that'll be fun.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I can't wait. I haven't skied in like, God, 10, 15 years? Yeah. I don't know. I read that I'm actually scared about it a bit because I read that it's not like riding a bicycle or like swimming. So you kind of lose the ability. So yeah, I'm a bit. Will I actually know how to do that stuff again with the feet? So yeah,
Stick to the beginner slopes, and I think uh, if or stick to one level easier than you were before,
yeah, I was
at
pretty.
least.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why my parents like they forced me to like. I had an uncle who was really into skiing, and I went like to the advanced slopes when I was little. But yeah,
Wow.
I don't. I'd be scared to do that. How advanced would you say you are? I mean, before the whole.
Uh, I can I can make it down blue slopes without any problem, but like the jump from blue to black slopes is enough for me to be worried. And like
Okay.
I can make it like they're too steep that I don't have good control at that kind of um, steepness, I guess,
Yeah.
unless I'm just going
What's blue?
super slow.
Okay, but what's blue? Is it like advanced or I mean, how? What are there? What are the levels under blue?
Like a green for beginner, blue for intermediate, and like black diamond for advanced.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, okay, nice.
But
Yeah, I think I was about the same. I wouldn't know right now.
well, aside from that, what have you been up to on the hardcover front lately?
Well, we've published the Apply as a Librarian page this week, which is yeah, a really good way for people to apply to become a librarian on the website now. So, as you know, I've been working on that page. Then I shipped it to you, and you managed to put it all together. So now I think for anyone who's not a librarian, you can apply on the website and also tell us a bit of info about where you can contribute, like the areas you can contribute on, which is very helpful for us. And I think right now we're trying to figure out how this year will go and what we'll build, which takes us to one of the subjects we have for today, the state of hardcover survey, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one and just put kind of every like kind of throw all our ideas on the wall and kind of see what resonates with the community the most.
Yeah, yeah, this is very exciting. And low key, this I've been thinking about, what is the biggest priority, the next thing we should work on. And I think having that level of feedback from all the readers on hardcover, that's gonna be very, very useful. um, I think we're are we 3 years in, or are we
Yeah,
still
two and a
like two
half.
years 2.5 years in? So I think right now we are, with some exceptions, on feature parity with most big book tracking networks, with our certain like different ways of doing things. So this brings us to like an interesting uh, stage in our development where we can think of what things to do to be even better. So we're kind of entering territory where, you know, we're not trying to catch up with other networks uh, that have validated features that we have as well. We're trying to see. what's next for the future of hardcover. And yeah, seeing how to ask people that, I think it's quite challenging in terms of how do you ask the questions.
Yeah, we when I was kind of starting the survey, I was going over our last two surveys that we conducted with readers, and I could share my screen to show some of the takeaways from those real quick.
Yeah, let's go for that.
Uh, Let's see, can I make this bigger? There we go. So I make every page bigger. So yeah, this is kind of the survey before we actually put it into like an actual form. Um, so kind of the idea is that like it's good at least once a year to do like a survey of our readers, our users, people that have currently registered and are using the app or signed up at some point. So this isn't going to cover people that haven't ever heard of hardcover. It's not targeted to them. It's not targeted to people who would use hardcover if we had X. It's completely designed around people that are already using the app or found some interest to use it in the first place, and then understanding both what they're using on hardcover, which we have a good understanding of already from just database usage, but also what if we added to hardcover would they most resonate with. And so yeah, it's kind of taking into account like all of this is like one more form of input because we have this feature request board that people give input on. We have this feature request channel. We have all the comments from user interviews. We have all the surveys we've done. We have like our internal roadmap to profitability, which is like, these are the things that we'll need to do to, be profitable as a company. Like, having more people become supporters or um, potentially allowing authors to pay us for additional services, which is farther down the line. So this is kind of like taking all this input, putting it in front of our readers and saying like, okay, what of this matters the most to you? That's kind of my take on this survey.
Yeah, that's a good take. And we have some questions which I think are like going in the right direction. Maybe we can chat a bit through them and yeah, see. I guess right now is what's important is seeing which ones to keep and which ones to ditch, and what questions bring us closer to getting some insight into what people want. Um, the tricky part with these is that it never works to ask people what I mean, it sometimes works actually to ask people, what do you want from hardcover? What do you want from our app? Uh, it's tough for us to imagine what to build for someone who doesn't have like a burning desire for something to happen. It's even tougher to come up with an answer to that. Yeah, this is the how do you frame questions so that you get to that? And we're trying to learn. I mean, the stage is set this way right now. We're at a point where we're trying to learn this so we can make hardcover a network that competes with the big ones out there, with Goodreads, with Storygraph, with and also brings something new. And yeah, that new part is where it gets interesting. And I think we're at the point where we're slowly, yeah, going in that direction.
Yeah. So from our last survey, uh, we had one of our last questions. Well, first off, we had like a lot of free response areas. This is from October 2022, so a year and a half ago. And kind of the most common things people asked for then was wanting to track partial progress, The app seems a little new and unpolished, and people were running into bugs more often. And I think like this is way before our last redesign, and so I think we've successfully tackled these. I think there are still bugs though, so that one's still like on my radar, of course. But kind of the last question we asked was uh, four things we're thinking about working on. Like give them a score from 1 to 5 on how important you think they are. And the most important thing was improved book discovery for learning about new books, and then stats and graphs about your reading history, and then a mobile app, and then book discussions. And so that's kind of been our prioritization since this survey in 2022. Like we redesigned the book page with prompts, reviews, and lists for book discovery, added the trending books page. We launched our mobile app, and we added like the year in books, and as well as like personal stats at the end of for every reader. So we've kind of like handled the three top ones, but we haven't handled discussions, which were the least um, voted one on this list. So we've been kind of like keeping that as a an option. So that was October 2022. But do you think there's anything else um, we need to think about from this one?
No, I think it's been offering us answers to questions we had up to this point. Um, right now maybe it would be useful to think about how to follow up on those. I'm mainly interested about what people think about discussions, because we do have some answers in that area, and how those tie with other things. So on this I think this did its job. It took us this far, so
Yeah.
some good really good insights that we actually delivered on.
And having a scale from 1 to 5 made it very clear like what the most important things were to people. So I think that was also another takeaway, is that this format of just like feature rank its importance to you on a scale of 1 to 5 provided
Hmm.
for some useful data for prioritization.
Yeah. Would you think that putting these one against the other, sort of like asking people what the priority is for some set options in their opinion, would it be as useful as asking them to give an importance score from 1 to 5, or not?
Yeah. Um I'm curious about that too, because as we'll see later down, I have some of those where it's like, here are 10 features, sort them by how important they are to
Mm-hmm.
you. So I'm kind of on the fence on what's more useful for us. Like I feel like having it as a ranked thing where it's like rank the importance of these 10 features, it's it's conceptually more to ask of a person than just rank
Mm-hmm.
them. I feel like ranking's easier because you make fewer decisions, but it depends on what the output of that is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that you kind of have to adjust your skills. Like if there are 10 questions about 10 features, each from 1 to 5, you kind of have to think, okay, I put 5 on this one, but this one is, which followed, is like, in my mind, has bigger priority, but I put 5 on that one. So I have to change that to 4 and put 5 on this one. So yeah, what you're saying about like actually ranking them, definitely I think for me as someone who would be presented with a survey would make more sense, but it's useful the other way around. I mean, we got good results in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, the ranking part does. I think the one part, the nice part about ranking is that it'll make it super clear what the top thing is and the bottom thing is
Yeah,
in a way that this is more variable.
yeah, I agree.
The ones in the
Uh,
middle will be a little fuzzy though, but I think
mm-hmm.
the best and the worst will be more highlighted.
Yeah. I think once you see the options one next to each other, you will have, especially on that middle part, have a little debate on, how this compares to the one underneath it, and yeah, just like rank them, put a bit more energy into ranking them.
Yeah. And and so that was October 22. The next survey we did was in May of 2023, and we kind of formatted this survey as like it was the while you were reading survey. So the idea was like from the moment you start reading a book, we were trying to understand everything a reader did like between when they started reading a book and to like shortly after they finished it. So that includes things like tracking the dates you started reading a book, the date you finished it, um, asking about like your goals or streaks, saving quotes or notes, scanning content in from the book, or discussing the book. And kind of the things we learned from that were that the tracking of the book's like start date, finish date, and like progress along the way, like I'm 10% done, I'm 20% done. Those were the top things that people wanted, which was good because that aligns with what we've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
uh, what was kind of confusing to me was the second thing was keep track of goals and streaks. And I feel like we didn't split that out enough. And those are two wildly different things. And that's kind
Hmm.
of a takeaway for me for this year's survey is to have better understanding of goals versus streaks.
Yeah, and I think generally it has to be very specific and only ask about one thing at a time. Another thing that's kind of maybe even dangerous from this kind of survey is that my surprise was that discussions were so low, and my hunch is that people generally can't imagine discussions. Or have a bad idea about how discussions could go based on what their experience with discussing a book are. Uh, I'm saying this because when we put them in front of our prototypes, where we actually showed them how we're going to build discussions, I think most people were really into it and they were really excited about that. So maybe there's like a takeaway there to uh, see or to interpret these results in a way that something that's classed lower or higher. I mean, higher it's easy because that's like top of mind, but for some things which are more complicated, I guess, like discussions where you have to imagine like a lot of things, you can't imagine how you'd like talk about a book with strangers necessarily. It's a complex thing versus
Yeah.
goals where you're like, I just want to read 10 books this month. Okay, those are
Yeah.
simple. Discussions are,
Yeah.
how am I gonna post? What am I gonna post? What book am I gonna post about? And you already, nah, okay, this is not a priority. But I mean, if you look at the prototypes, it's actually like much clearer, and the results we got from that survey were like, okay, wow, okay, I would definitely do this because it's kind of like a book club, and exactly what we wanted from it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It's
just watch out for the for the more complex things we put in there. Maybe even eliminate the complex things, or uh, like you said earlier, try to split them up into like smaller, more palatable chunks.
yeah, because discussing books could be like our when we say discussing books, we're talking about like a Reddit style discussion board for each book. But discussing books could also mean having a discussion on Discord about the book. It could mean organizing a real time group of people to discuss a book. It could mean audio, video, or text. So I feel like leaving this like this kind of categorized it as all of the above. And so
Yeah.
some of these people that wanted it might have wanted a Reddit style and not wanted maybe the people that didn't wanted something else. But I don't think we'll know until we figure out a better framing of the question for this year.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that survey kind of helped us prioritize these things and kind of for tracking and kind of push off some of the discussion stuff for later while we figured more of it out. Um, but yeah, most of the
yeah.
questions start off with kind of general demographics. I don't know if any of those are worth talking about.
Yeah, now we can skip those. They're basically like stuff about your reading and yourself that we want to know. Um,
This one
yeah,
is
the
a question.
sorting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's a
think these are
question
good. Yeah,
about how
now
you
go
use
ahead. Sorry.
hardcover today.
Mm-hmm. The sorting is gonna be really nice. I think it will give us a lot of answers about, what people like more than the thing underneath it.
Yeah, I think I think maybe this one though. Maybe this one. So this question is, what are your biggest unsolved book related problems? And I don't really love the phrasing of this question, but the idea
Yeah,
is
that's. Mm-hmm.
like what are general book related issues that you have in the world, not specific to
Uh huh.
hardcover, but like yeah. And so trying to face this general question, phrase this.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's basically what have you been bumping into when you were reading, or what kind of friction have you had while reading? But mm, let's think of like a simpler way to ask that. Like,
Yeah. Um, how yeah, it's kind of like if you've encountered this problem, how yeah,
well, they can just put zero in it if they haven't encountered it. Like, how important are these issues, I guess, or problems, or
these
conundrums you might run into while reading?
yeah,
Well, they might interpret conundrums.
yeah, we could just keep it vague. How often have you run into these problems?
Yeah, and the five is often, a one is never.
Yeah, so 1 to 5, um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
that's
then those are
perfect.
things like deciding on new books to read, finding accurate recommendations, organizing your real world book library, remembering takeaways and highlights. I'll probably just say takeaways from what you've read, and yeah, keeping track of what you've read, staying up to date with your favorite authors. So these are some things that we're solving, some things we're not. It's kind of a mix of
Mm-hmm.
just general book problems. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering what else we could add here. Like, should we include something for like um, getting advanced review copies from authors or something
Yeah,
like
of
that?
course. Yeah. I was also thinking about like the medium. Is it? Do you listen to books? Do you have like a device, like a Kindle or a Nook? Do you read physical books? But I'm not sure. So
Hmm. Maybe that would be a good one because I'm thinking like what devices do
yeah.
you read
Okay.
books
Yeah.
on? And maybe
Let's
that could
ask
be
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like Kindle, Kobo. Like we need to get a full list of things and then probably
Oh
have a
yeah, there are like
other.
about 10. Yeah, and there should be like a physical, no device, physical books,
Yeah, we'll have to add more here, but
paper. Yeah, good old paper.
this would be
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, cool. So yeah, we have yeah. Which of the following do you use to connect with other readers online? Kind of like um, Instagram, Discord, TikTok, Reddit, local book clubs, Goodreads. It's kind of just like
Mm-hmm.
how do you how do you connect with people?
Yeah, those are kind of like the main options.
Yeah. And who do you talk with about books you read? So I feel like these are
Mm-hmm.
different things because one of these is kind of like consumption, while one of them's more
Yeah,
like you creating with
participation.
like
Yeah,
having like yeah
yeah, definitely. That's gonna be useful to know if they actually like talk about mm, books in like any place
yeah.
that's digital.
And then this is the one that we were talking about for the sorting versus ranking or sorting versus setting a 1 to 5. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so here are some things we're thinking about working on. Put these in the order that would be most important to you. And some of the
Mm-hmm.
options are discuss books you're reading. And this is probably like in a Reddit style forum on
I
hardcover.
wouldn't put. I mean, maybe some people don't know Reddit. That's like a real
Yeah,
possibility, or they might like it might strike some bad associations in their heads. So
maybe like text discussion forum
yeah, it
on.
could just be not chat about because you're not chatting, talking. I know library thing has them labeled as talk, which is good, but I was actually thinking about how to label it, and yeah, discussions. Yeah, you are discussing. So I guess just the action. I think it could have been like best at first, because else, it's. I think it's pretty clear that you will be able to yeah, maybe live it like that.
Yeah. So, and I ended up with, as you were talking and giving that feedback, a text based discussion slash forum for every book, parentheses, similar to Reddit.
Yeah, maybe just like I wouldn't text based. Maybe just discussion, because they could post, or yeah, just leave it. They could post photos, but I think yeah, it's better to leave it as a text based, so they know it's not face to face or audio or.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Yeah, that's good. For this one, I'm thinking, should we group these features depending on something related to your profile, related to like the activity on hardcover, like the social part, the tracking part, your profile part, like the export or your library part, uh, or do we not have enough like features for all of those categories? Yeah, I think we might not. So maybe just yeah, leave
Yeah.
it like mixed.
We also don't have a team where we could like split them up. I feel like if we had like one person working on one thing and one person working on the other, then we could split them up for that reason.
Yeah, yeah.
It, but that
Let's
also made me
just.
think, like, what if we have these as both a ranking and then the last thing is a sorting one? So we have like a question where you rank each of these 1 to 5, and then the last question is sort them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's basically doing both.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's do that. They're like simple, and you can just like go through them.
Yeah.
Jeff is signaling us about his virtual access in the chat.
I'll talk with him about that.
All right. Yeah, I think let's have. them as ranking and then as sorting. Let's see. And I'd put some more in there, and maybe some I'd. I mean, looking at these, I think some are less big in scope. So I'm looking at more metadata about books, and let's say, for instance, badges and awards for reading and activity. Yeah, not sure. I think metadata seems like a smaller update. Badges seems like a bigger update. So I wouldn't. Mm, well, I wouldn't know how to rank them because of that. But yeah, maybe just like the, we can see the importance that people put on like bigger feature versus smaller features. I was thinking
Yeah.
about like equalizing their scope in a way, so more metadata about books make it sound a bit more like bigger than it is, like uh, much more data about books.
Is is your concern that they'll be like taking into account how hard it is to do it, or
Or
because
how big of a feature it is. So more metadata might, even if it's like a big thing, might be classed lower than badges and awards, or find real world book friends in your local area. But not sure if that will influence it. Maybe not.
yeah,
Maybe I'm
to
overthinking it.
to me the difficulty of it makes no difference. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know what people want. So if they
Yeah.
want something, even if it's really really hard and we're going to have to do it manually for every single book, I want to know if that's the top thing people want.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
no, no, it's not about difficulty on our side. It's about how they perceive like the pushing. If we frame the options in a way that some options seem bigger than others, if we're not like artificially getting people to rank those higher, that's my concern. But maybe that's like. Just wording. We can, I can have a pass over the wording and see,
yeah,
specifically if my yeah,
yeah,
yeah, see now.
yeah, even changing it from more metadata about each book to just like more information about each book.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
or like
things like
fully
that.
comprehensive information. I mean, I think like having like full information about the book, all of those things would rank it as high as badges, which is like a big thing, or like finding real book friends.
Yeah, yeah. This find real world book friends one is a neat one. Like I know we're not there yet because we need a lot more users to make that work, but I think that could be big down the line.
Yeah, it might even be one of those things. I mean, with social apps, the thing is, you gotta code the growth engine in the app, if that makes sense. So, the reason why mm, it could be an engine for growth is what I'm saying. That we don't necessarily need to have a lot of users to start with that kind of feature, but it could be like an engine for growth if we implement it. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that's gonna be ranked. If it's ranked like way high, that's an indication for us that people really do want this, and it might be a good thing for us to work on.
Yeah, it it also brings in the whole like idea of like there's a lot of things you can do with like the real world side, but kind of like Jeff
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, this gets us into the personally identifiable information
Oh yeah,
part, which
we
is
should. Yeah,
yeah,
I just want to mention that library thing does this, where you have like a public facing information that is like we have the location on our profile. I mean, nobody can identify I'm from London, me and another 9 million people. uh, but they also have a special private address that I think is used so people can send books to you, which is, I mean, we should look into that because they're doing it. It's either that or for book clubs. I'm not sure. Maybe I imagine it's for people sending books to you, but they're definitely using that private address for something. So it's not something that's available publicly, but yeah, I think it's actually for seeing people in your area. So it might be like the very same thing, and I'm sure there's like a, yeah, legal way to avoid trouble. We
Yeah.
can just look in. They have 2 million users, so I'm guessing, you know, they got that part sorted out.
Let's see. Are there any other things on here that or that you think should be added to this list? I know like the dashboard, you were showing some screens from.
Yeah, the dashboard is something that came up requested by some people, but the question you had about like its use case is like really relevant, because yeah, it might the use case would be to have an overview on your reading. um, So we could put a dashboard that shows an overview of your hardcover activity, I guess. Um, I remember us talking about it before people started mentioning it in the feature requests on Discord. So that's why I designed it, but might not be a thing. It might actually like harm us because I guess we want people to see the feed mainly. So this would be an alternative to seeing the feed as your homepage. We could
Yeah.
just put some of those widgets in the sidebar so you can access them on desktop.
Yeah. It it's very like customizable, and it's a hard one because I feel like some widgets would be like really useful and other ones I would never use. So it's it's how we can get something that has enough things on it that would be really
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah, well, I made it like purely from community suggestions, including your suggestions. So those in there are stuff that people have asked for. We have a bunch of really active users who want this feature. So I even had a screenshot that one of our readers made that I put in there. So not a priority, but none of the other networks have it. So it could look nice. It could be like an extra thing to add if it's easy. I'm guessing like some of that data would be easier to get. Some of it might be like tougher
The
to.
the hard part's making it dynamic, I think, and like choosing like rebuilding it based on like dragging around and all that part. Like making it one
Oh,
static
this.
page isn't too bad,
Yeah.
but making it one static page that resonates with everyone is tough because kind of
Mm-hmm.
like I said, like all these widgets I wouldn't use and this one I would. So it's like,
Yeah.
do we build that if people are only going to focus on some of them?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to make it customizable from a interface perspective. We can just use framer motion. I actually wanted to code the whole like bento board thing, and we can just like use CSS classes to hide the ones that you don't use. I think someone mentioned it in the Discord at some point.
The
So
I think the hard part's like saving that setting. Like you build your dashboard, you want to save it to the database and you want it to show up on your phone when you switch from device to device.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where it gets a little tricky. Like if it
Yeah.
was just like on one device and without a refresh, it would be really easy, but persisting it and getting it to show the way you want with it in the style you want is going to be that's going to be the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Not
yeah,
a priority. We have
yeah,
like a lot of stuff before that to take care of, my guess is. But
yeah,
yeah, we could put it there to just see how like high it ranks.
yeah. Like if we were to describe it, a dashboard that shows an overview of your um,
Reading, quick stats, and friend activity.
yeah,
Yeah. Again, might be a thing that people have to see instead of imagine, but let's see.
yeah. I'm really excited to send this out. I mean, we're planning on sending it out on the first of the month with the hardcover report, and the idea is that the dashboard would be. Mind if I pull up the dashboard that you shared?
Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
good.
Yeah,
Okay,
we've got a
let me.
question in the chat. Where would this dashboard be? Basically, ideally, you'd be able to choose if you want to see this dashboard or the feed when you tap on the home page. So we wouldn't want to cannibalize our feed. So we just make it an option to set it as your homepage from like your profile settings for people who really don't want a feed. um, so this would be it. You'd have what you're reading right now, your reading goal, similar readers you could follow, your average page read if you're updating your progress, some trending parts of it, and activities in your feed, discussions you might like for when we're building discussions, and if you're a librarian, the librarian stats else is going to prompt you to become a librarian if you want, or just not show it if you're not a librarian.
It it sounds like the
Um,
goal of this page to me is that it would be a jumping off point to other parts on hardcover that you would want to go to multiple times, or maybe parts that you that we're suggesting you go to that you might not have discovered otherwise.
that's also true. Yeah, that might actually be a better description because, yeah, an overview of your reading is just the top part. The other parts are exactly like points you can jump off to other sections. Yeah, exactly. You would be able to go to the feeds. I actually wanted to include the button, but I don't know why I didn't. So from here, you would, if you would tap on activities in your feeds in the bottom left corner, you'd go to your feed, or if you set this as like your homepage, you'd only be seeing this instead of the feed. That's what people actually like asked from us. I'm not sure it's a thing that's good for UX right now. I'm still like, yeah, but
Yeah,
this
yeah,
could be, yeah.
yeah. I think I'm curious to see what people think of it because I feel like it's not something I would personally use, but it was something that came up some in our feed um, interviews. But I also wonder like yeah how those people could use it because yeah they've talked about like showing some of these things that you can get to by just going to your current profile page and seeing
Hmm.
like your reading goal reading right now. So I have a feeling we'll be talking more about this after the survey to see like
Yeah,
should
definitely.
and if it comes up from the survey, then that's when we could start like showing this to some people and seeing what they think.
Yeah,
But
that sounds
if you're
like a
reading
plan. Yeah.
and if you're looking at this screenshot on YouTube or anything, feel free to comment on it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It could be like a useful step for when we update the profile page as well, because some of those sections might be useful in there, uh, and of course they could go next to the feed.
Yeah.
The new one we're working on that includes discussions, so we'll see.
One one thing that I kind of worry about from the feedback that we get from people wanting something like this, it's less that they want something like this, and it's more that they want like one of the solutions on this page to be its own complete feature. Like they want to see their most similar readers, or they want to see
Mm-hmm.
uh, like based on your reading books you would like. But seeing them all at once is less important than just like having a clear way to get there. And some people might not want to click around or might not know how to get there on their own.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point because we can, I mean, some of this stuff has been requested, and we could look into building these micro features first in other parts. So, for instance, I would want to see the most similar readers, and I want to see like just like a list of suggestions based on my reading.
Yeah.
Now we have the
Um,
trending, but we don't have the trending that you might like, for instance. So it's not personalized necessarily. To That's why I was thinking, it could impact like when you visit your profile, you could get these many of these data points to be integrated in there, so you can like quickly, yeah, see them. But
I think
uh,
I, I
yeah.
I think of like all of these things on our like a potential feature list. Um, is there one that stands out to you? And this will probably be like the last thing before we um, head out. But what is like the one thing to you that's most exciting here on our want to do potential list?
Well, I think we don't have one about discussion. Yeah, I think the discussions one is the
Yeah,
most.
this one.
Yeah, the first one. Um, the next one would be find real world book friends in your area. I think that's gonna be, yeah, and badges. I mean, we. If badges would be easier uh, uh, to code, that would be, I mean, we have it all figured out, I think, or like 80% of it, I think. The way the badge system would work, we even have like how the badges would look like. So that's the most exciting visually, but the most exciting in terms of us as a network, I think, would be discussions. Right now, the only way we can have people express their feelings about the book is through reviews, but I'd want them to interact. So, debate and ask and dig deep into everything that a book is, and basically do the stuff that happens in book clubs, but do it async on the book page. So I think that still checks out even after all this time. If we implement that, yeah. But I'm curious to see, because yeah, that's the risk in this,
Yeah,
making sure you're building something people want.
yeah,
So
and also that we have the audience to support it. At least like with discussions, it's one of those things where the larger we get, the more impactful it's going to be. So it's
yeah. How
it,
about you? What's your, like, from this list? What's your like top choice?
I think my top one is save quotes and notes to a reading log. And one thing that I kind of like about that is like this would like I'm envisioning this as like there's an entry that says like started reading, and it's like because you or marked as want to read, and it's like the date you first marked it as want to read, and then you could have additional notes on like why you added it to your want to read list in there. So like, oh, someone so and so recommended this, which is something that's come up multiple times. It's like, why did someone recommend this? And then it could say the next entry could be like started reading on this date, and like the exact format you started reading. And then it could have your progress updates, and then it could have your notes that go along with your progress updates. And so it's like 10%, 20%. And I'm even thinking like you could add an entry that's a quote, and that quote could potentially be could show up in our quotes in discussions later on. So it could be like priming the data for discussions, and we could also use the editor that we create for this reading log within discussions later. So it could be a chance for us to create our editor, but we don't have to worry about moderation in the same way because people will be creating this just for themselves. So there's less moderation overhead. So I almost feel like this could be a good like feature on the path to discussions that helps us get some of the tech requirements in place for discussions. Like,
Yeah, that sounds great actually. That sounds, I mean, it checks out, and yeah, definitely we could integrate it. I was about to say, as you were saying, that it could be like a stepping stone towards discussions, but you've actually like thought about it the same way. So that's perfect. We could start mocking this up even. I mean, we mocked up a whole lot of things we
see,
could do this because yeah, it's
and
I
that's
think I've
yeah, and that's why I'm so excited to put out the survey. Like, where does quotes in a reading log compare with streaks? Like, if people really want streaks or really want streaks and badges and goal setting, that's like
yeah.
one like group of features that we could work on together versus like a reading log. So it's I feel like this will help us kind of determine like the group of features that we focus on.
Yeah, it's gonna be really helpful for us because, see, I mean, you described it, and I was focusing on a whole bunch of other things, which in my mind like seemed like more important. But just by hearing that thought, I mean, it's just a name in a survey right now, and it's gonna be interesting to see how people like perceive it. But then, like getting that data and actually like starting to process it ourselves, I think that's gonna be the fun part because yeah, we already have like some plans for all of these. Eventually, I think Hardcover is going to have all of the things in there, but yeah, with I mean, the real challenges for a team that is as small as ours. What's going to be next on our list?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that sounds good. I can't wait to like mock what's exactly what you described. So
yeah.
we'll
I
be, I guess, chatting about this after the after Sundance is over, and let's see, maybe we can like do a real speedy shipping of if we can mock it up and it looks good and we get a validation and maybe the data from the survey checks out. Yeah,
what I'm excited about, like from this list, like discussions is probably like the hardest thing on here, and that's one we've already put some work into. So in comparison, anything else is going to be easier.
yeah. Well, that's good. On that optimistic note, I think we can wrap it up.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Stay, and thanks everyone for joining. Yeah. We'll
Yeah, it's been hardcover number 34, right?
yep. And we will talk to you next week.
Yeah, perfect. Have a good rest of the week, everybody, and see you later.
Yeah. Bye.